In his most recent interviews, Bob Arum seems solely intent on getting this Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder rubber match over the line, and is seemingly unwilling to entertain any other fight for Tyson Fury before that one has happened. Now, that wouldn't be so much of an issue if we were guaranteed to see that fight at some point this year. But in several of Bob Arum's recent interviews, he's come out and said that the Fury-Wilder rubber match could be delayed until February of 2021 if fans are not allowed into arenas later on this year, let's say December. Now, this obviously complicates matters for Dillian Whyte. It pushes back any potential undisputed fight, not only because, it pushes the fight back to February, but then the winner would have to honor their Dillian Whyte obligation. And the WBC have recently come out and said Dillian Whyte is next for the winner of Fury Wilder, regardless. Okay? So this just pushes everything further and further and further back. So to fans, most of them, including myself, are not going to be happy to hear Bob Arum say it could get pushed back to February. And of course, Dillian Whyte, Anthony Joshua, and any other fighter interested in taking on the winner of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Now, why is Bob Arum saying this? Well, I've already kind of alluded to it. He said if no fans are allowed back in the arena in December, he's going to be forced to push it to February. And that's all to do with money, because Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder already signed a contract for this rubber match. And their guarantees, financial guarantees, etc., were already set in stone, or at least in ink. And therefore, to pay both fighters what they're contracted to get, you're going to need revenue from the live gate, not just revenue from pay-per-view. And bear in mind that the second fight, according to the figures that they released to the public through the press, the second fight only just broke even. And that was promoted, to a extreme extent. I mean, they spent an enormous amount of money on that fight, ESPN, Fox, etc., promoting it. They're unlikely to want to spend that amount of money promoting the trilogy fight. One, because of the economic situation we all find ourselves in at the moment. And for two, because the second fight was not competitive. So even if we weren't in this economic downturn that we're currently facing, there still wouldn't be the same clamor by the fans to want to see a rubber match, especially not immediately. If they rematch, let's say 2 or 3 fights down the line, there might be more interest in it, especially if Wilder was able to pick up some good wins in the interim period. But to just go from being annihilated by Tyson Fury in a one-sided fight to getting straight back in with Tyson Fury. And remember, this is not the second time, if they fight again, that's not the second time they would have fought. It's the third time they would have fought. If their first fight was Tyson Fury doing what he did and then they had an immediate rematch, that would be more palatable. But being that it's the third fight, I think most fans are getting kind of tired of seeing Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder in the ring with each other, especially over such a relatively, short period. So that fan fatigue of seeing Fury and Wilder in the ring together is also going to make it difficult, in the best of circumstances, to generate revenue. I mean, they're going to generate some revenue, don't get it twisted, but the fight will have lost its luster because of how dominant Tyson Fury was second time around. Okay. So I get it. It's all about finances, but we really have to start looking at what Deontay Wilder and his team are actually doing here. I mean, is Deontay Wilder fit to fight in December, etc.? Can Deontay Wilder be persuaded? Can his people be persuaded to maybe let Tyson Fury take on a Dillian Whyte? I mean, to be honest with you, I think it would be advantageous for Deontay Wilder to allow Tyson Fury to face Dillian Whyte first. I think that would be advantageous because let's say he puts a deal together whereby he gets to face the winner, regardless whether it's Dillian Whyte or Fury, he gets to face the winner next and there's nothing they can do to get out of it. If he could put a deal like that together, I think it works well for Deontay Wilder, because if Dillian Whyte manages to pull off the upset, I think that's a more winnable fight for him than Tyson Fury. And even if Dillian Whyte doesn't manage to pull off the upset, let's say he just manages to pull Tyson Fury into a really tough fight and maybe put some miles on Fury's clock, that would also potentially benefit Deontay Wilder. Now, I'll add a caveat to that. Wilder would have been out the ring, I guess, for longer than Fury, unless he has a fight himself in the interim. And personally, I don't think that would be a bad idea if he actually, had a fight in the meantime and allowed Fury to fight Dillian Whyte. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. That is infinitely preferable from a fan perspective if it's a choice between waiting to see Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder in 2021 or having Tyson Fury fight Dillian Whyte sooner than that. Because remember, Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte could happen in the UK. Eddie Hearn has already said that he'd be willing to put Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte on in his back garden, under current circumstances on pay-per-view. So he's willing to do that. It seems as though the networks in America, or maybe it's Bob Arum, is not willing to put Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder on pay-per-view with no fans. So if it's a choice of either or, then I'll take Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte this year, and then the winner of that faces Deontay Wilder, and then the winner of that faces Anthony Joshua. Because the way Anthony Joshua's fight schedule is looking, according to Hearn, he's going to fight Kubrat Pulev supposedly later on this year. Then he's not going to fight again till summer 2021 anyway, right? So there's time there for the scenario I've just talked about to actually unfold and happen. Get Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte in there later on this year, even if it means there's no fans or limited fans, and then have the winner fight Deontay Wilder in February. See, this scenario allows the undisputed fight to happen sooner rather than later. Obviously, the quickest thing to do would be to match Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua later on this year. But because they've both got mandatory obligations, that just adds another obstacle in the way. And Anthony Joshua doesn't just have one mandatory obligation, he's got two. He's got Usyk and he's got Kubrat Pulev. And Tyson Fury's got Dillian Whyte and he's got this, contractual obligation to face Deontay Wilder a third time. So when you add all the extra fighters in there, all the extra obligations, AJ versus Fury later on this year just seems like the furthest thing away. Whereas Fury versus Whyte, it seems a bit more realistic. Now, this is all well and dandy. Dillian Whyte has got to get past Alexander Povetkin on the 22nd. And that is not a foregone conclusion. Yes, Povetkin is in his 40s now and what have you, but he's always kept himself in good shape. And he's got good technique. He's still got power there. He's still got some speed there. So that is not an opponent that Dillian Whyte or Eddie Hearn or any of these people can be sleeping on. Because if you sleep on Alexander Povetkin, he could end up putting you to sleep in the ring, right? You sleep on him figuratively, he could actually make you sleep literally. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all the scenarios I've entertained in this video, about what Bob Arum's talking about. Again, he doesn't seem to be willing to entertain any other fight for Tyson Fury right now other than Wilder next. And apparently Tyson Fury's not particularly happy about that, but I'll cover that in a separate video. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, people. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.